Okay, welcome everyone. Happy to have you here today for What is Self-Talk? So the webinar here. So thanks for joining and let's get started. This is being recorded just so that you know, and I'll be emailing out the link afterwards. So you'll be able to rewatch it if you'd like. So I am Dr. Dawn Siglain. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I practice in Huntington as well as Manhattan. Right now, I am doing telehealth services, but I am going to be back in the office as of next week, which is really exciting. I'm also an acupuncturist and a Reiki practitioner. I also have history as a personal trainer with NASM as well as a health coach. That's kind of how I got started in this field. So I love practicing naturopathic medicine. And if this is new for anyone hearing about it for the first time, I hope I'm going to introduce, some new topics. And yes, I'm a doctor talking about mental, emotional wellness. It's really important to the whole picture of optimal wellness. So I thank you for joining me, and I hope that this is eye-opening and at least making you think about wellness in a different way and what is really important here. There's lots that's important, but self-talk is an important topic. And I love talking about this. So I started this whole series of self-talks at the Montauk Salt Cave, going on nearly 2 years now, the one located in Huntington. And that was a topic that I just picked as my first topic. I'm there twice a month, well, once we get back into the groove of things. And I kind of stuck with it. The self-talk has been a series that is just always there. So that's the underlying topic with all of my lectures at the Salt Cave. So I love talking about this stuff. It's just the bringing of the awareness to this self-talk that we all have and how it does affect our wellness. So self-talk, and what is it? I'm sure many people are wondering if you haven't heard of it before. It's this constant chatter that we have within ourselves. Okay, so, and I'm going to dig deeper into this. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to get to them at the end of this lecture. It's just so that I can get all the information in, because there's a lot that I have to share here today. And it's us in our truest and a really vulnerable form of ourselves. It's what we say. We might even be mumbling it under our breath, thinking, and even visualizing. So it includes our subconscious. So what is that? And so the subconscious is a part of the mind that's lacking full awareness. So it's this belief system with these patterns of thoughts and behaviors that we're having, okay, automatically. And so I wanted to dig deep into this. I started looking up what is a thought, right? So we all know that we have thoughts and we think them. So I tried to find a definition of it. And this was actually really interesting what I came across. So in Wikipedia, in the philosophy portal, they define thought as this: a mental process which allows beings, humans, us, or any beings rather, who has the ability to have a thought, to model the world, and so to deal with it effectively according to their goals, plans, and desires. Okay, so it's really personalized to us, okay? And then I love the medical definition of this: active thinking. Thanks, right? But then they wrote the power to imagine. And I kind of love that. And then Wikipedia, another definition, was aim-oriented flow of ideas and associations that can lead to a reality-oriented conclusion. But then it goes further to say no consensus as to how it is adequately defined or understood. So lots of question marks, right? But we know that thoughts exist. We know that they're there. We know that we're thinking them, and we know that it affects our wellness. It affects our behaviors, and it can affect our feelings. So then this was very interesting. Did you know that we have up to 70,000 thoughts a day? And some of them are repetitive, right? But that's a lot. That's a good chunk in one day. So think about all we're thinking about and all we're doing in one day. So if at the end of the day you think you've done nothing, you've been thinking a lot, right? And that's nearly 50 thoughts a minute. So within 1 minute, there's a lot that's going on. And then I was looking into 3 different types of thoughts, okay? And I like to look at this in terms of what helps us and then what's hurting us, okay? Because when we think of our thoughts, there's a variety of them, but what's helping us and what could be holding us back? And how does this apply to our wellness? And there's the connection there. So there's insightful thought. What's insightful thought? This is problem solving, thinking about long-term planning. Okay, trying to have some insight into things that have happened in the past. How can this benefit you? Maybe talking with other people, trying to get some insight, some clarity as to how you should progress. Okay, so that's useful. That's helpful to us. Experiential here is to focus to perform a task. So thinking about a task at hand and to do it, okay? And using your 5 senses. So it might be things that you're doing for the first time. So a first time experience, but you've been given a task, you want to know how to perform it. So you're trying to use all your 5 senses, what you already know and how you can do this particular task. Okay, and then there's incessant talk. So that's the constant chatter. So that's what I'll be talking about today. And for the most part, this can kind of hurt us, okay? But it can help us. So you can have chatter in your head, you can have thoughts. And, if they're super positive all the time and you're, boosting yourself up, that's good, okay? So that can be good chatter, but it tends to hurt us, okay? And that's what I'm here to bring awareness to try and turn that around, okay? And it's oftentimes when it's this constant negative chatter, it's really unnecessary suffering that we're putting onto ourselves. And then you can think of all the downward spirals of moods, anxiety, depression, worry, fear, all these things and all these ways that it settles with us, that may not benefit us. Do our thoughts have energy? So I love thinking about this because our mindset, think about when you wake up in the morning and if you're feeling good, you can have a good start to the day. But if you're not, it can really, if one bad thing happened and if you just kept thinking, oh, this is just going to be one of those days, and we've had that, and that can really break your day. So your mindset, you really have so much control over how your days are going to be based on mindset. And it really can make or break the day. So our thoughts do have energy. And thinking about the brain producing thoughts as a biological function. So there's multiple neurons that are firing, okay, to produce these thoughts. And then there's also release of neurotransmitters. So, I'm just making it very simplistic so as not to get off the path of self-talk today, but there's so much that goes into it. Do we really, really, really know and have the crux of it, of our thoughts? Because if we did, couldn't we just say, okay, let's just twist it? But we can't. So there's really, as much as we do know about it or we want to know, I really think that there's so many question marks in there. So understanding it, talking about it, talking about thoughts, talking about emotions, talking about feelings, I think that all helps to try to understand what's going on within ourselves. And if we do have the power to control these thoughts, let's try and get there. But it's easier said than done. I know that because I work with patients and, who sometimes they're holding themselves back. And, and I know if you've had loved ones, people can relate to this. If you see somebody getting in their own way, you want to just say, hey, look at it this way, do this. But if the self-talk has been ingrained and it's negative, that in itself is a hindrance to wellness and feeling better. Okay, so it's really tough, and all you can do to be there for someone that you love that's going through this is to just care for them. You know, send them love, send them healing thoughts, positive thoughts, because these thoughts are palpable. You know, they really are, they're powerful. So think about thoughts. You can think about thoughts, just having a thought, sending out well wishes for someone, whether it be prayer if you want to use, but having thoughts, sending good energy towards someone's, you know, to someone, people can feel that. You know, it's just, it's powerful there. You know, when you think about it, this, you know, when you're, you know, when you meet people and suddenly you're just leaning towards it, like vibing with somebody. It's not to say the other person's bad, but you might be on the same wavelength, you know, thought pattern. And it could be, and it doesn't necessarily need to be positive or negative, but you guys are vibing together. So you might not be having the same thoughts, but in a way you're on the same wavelength. Maybe, you know, if anyone's listened to any of my previous lectures talking about vibrations, energy healing, and there's certain vibrations. So even if you're having a thought pattern that is on a similar vibrational level as the other person, you might be inclined to have a conversation with them and talk to them. I think that we all naturally know this. You know, if you meet someone and someone starts talking to you, might get this feeling of, okay, yeah, this, like, I want to chat with this person a little bit more. Sometimes you get some red flags and you're just, you don't necessarily want to talk with them. You know, and there's so many things that can go with that, with vibing with someone, but these palpable thoughts are one of them. So they are really, really, truly powerful. Can we quantify it? Do we really know how to measure this? Not really, but we all know this, right? I always think about, you know, it makes me think of pets, makes me think of my Chihuahua and how, you know, she just, you know, whatever they're thinking something, right? And they're using their senses sometimes, you know, there's some kind of thought pattern that goes into it, but the way that she'll naturally be excited to see somebody or not excited to see somebody, or excited to meet another dog, or kind of just dismiss another dog. I find it really interesting, right? So I don't know if anyone else does, but you know, those are things that I think about. So it's just another way to understand that these thoughts, they are powerful. There is energetic value to them. So root medicine, right? So this is what naturopathic medicine is all about, finding out the root cause. So what's the root of self-talk? So, and this is really important. So I want you to pay special attention to this. If there's one thing that you get out of this talk, this webinar today, how many times can I use the word talk? Is this: self-talk is our thoughts, not our feelings. Not to say that feelings aren't important. I'm going to talk about how when we're dealing with self-talk, that the feelings, you know, are used to assess. But the self-talk is our thoughts, the actual thoughts, and removing the feelings and emotions out of it. Okay. So our feelings are the emotional reactions that occur as a result of these thoughts. Now, you might be sitting there and going, no, I don't agree with you. And the reason why, I'm going to explain, you know, how this happens, but try to understand that the self-talk is the thoughts, not the feelings. And it's what we say to ourselves in response to a situation that then determines our moods and feelings. So I'll say this: if you're sitting there and going, you know, and self-talk, this can be good too. So it's not necessarily negative. What I want to bring attention to is if you're having a tough time, there's a lot going on in the world right now. We're doing a lot of reflection. I think there's a lot of thoughts that are going in our heads. I think we're going through a time, some people are even afraid to speak their thoughts, for fear that they're going to be judged, or maybe they're thinking something wrong, or they're afraid of offending someone. I know myself, you know, sometimes that could be going on, you know, with myself, you know, with others. So have a good support system, talk this out with someone, you know, that you feel comfortable talking with, you know, keep asking questions, keep trying to learn. If in your heart, all you want to do is be a better person and understand, you know, be empathetic, try and think of other people's feelings, try and look at things in a new perspective, understanding that maybe, and this is a big thing that's going on now, is that maybe what we've been taught, we need to unlearn all those things that we've been taught, which could be that's really difficult to do. But I think we're in this time and we're facing that there's been a lot of miseducation, misinformation, and people have been treated really poorly, and it's not right. Racism is not okay. But so all this self-talk, we're having this, so as not to base judgment on it, to try and understand it. But there are thoughts, and then the feelings happen. But the self-talk is just the thoughts. And if you don't know, so let's say you're going through a tough time also, and you're thinking to yourself, but I don't talk negatively to myself. There's nothing that I say negative, but yet you're not feeling good. So ask a friend, ask a family member, is there a phrase that I'm often saying that could resemble self-talk? You could try and describe, what I'm sharing today and say, is there a common phrase that I'm saying that you hear me say? Loved ones are there for you. They hear things, they're aware of things. When you ask them that, I'm sure they're going to be happy to help, and there's a lot of strength in asking for help. So, and I say this because my mom had to help me with this. So when I was diagnosed with lupus, so this is going back a number of years, that's an autoimmune condition. And so self-talk is a huge part of this, because what's autoimmune disease? It's your body rejecting itself, right? That's the essence of the disease. In a very, small way of explaining that, in a very, just brief way to explain that. And what's that with the self-talk is a rejection of self. So I sat there and I really thought about what could I be saying that is bringing me down? And I remember asking my mom and saying, was there anything that I'm saying that's negative? What do I say? And she's like, yeah, you say you're not good enough. And I said, I do? I didn't even know. And that was huge. So in order to heal myself, and this was just one component of the healing, but I knew it was a big component of healing, is I would tell myself I am good enough. And I know that might sound silly to some people, but it was something that I had to do to reverse it. I had to also think where it came from. I think I'm still trying to figure out where it came from, but I have a good handle of where it came from. And it's not easy to deal with. So this isn't something that's easy to deal with, but it does get you to that next level of healing. If you're stuck in your wellness path, I urge you to really look deep into the self-talk if this pertains to you, okay? And talk about it with someone if you're stuck and you don't know what your self-talk is. Maybe someone who's close to you that loves you can really shed some light on it for you, okay? So it's not just words. So it may appear in this, we call telegraphic form. So with memories, associations, visualizations, right? That's also self-talk, right? Just being automatic thoughts, just they pop into your head, you think about it. And it may require unraveling several thoughts from a word or image, okay? So an image comes up and then there's thoughts that go along with it. So thinking about that, trying to take the feelings out of how that image or memory is making you feel, but thinking about the thoughts associated with it. Maybe really going through it very objectively. This happened, I was this old, and this happened, that happened. And maybe jotting down notes and coming back to a certain thought. So, if it's taking you down a pattern, you're like, wait, but this was important, write down the thought so that you can follow through and then come back to the original thought, because that was the first thought that came into your mind, with that image. So it's powerful stuff. So sometimes you just, you just have to, so sometimes seeking a license, a practitioner who's familiar with this work to help you through it can really benefit you. So doing this on your own, if it's a little heavy or you need some help with it, this is something to talk about. There's many practitioners out there, social workers, myself as a naturopathic doctor, I talk therapy with my patients. That's what I do. I urge you to, seek out some help with this. It can really shed some light and open up some doors for you. So now there's a sequence of self-talk. So we're always thinking like, oh, well, this happened to me, this is how I'm feeling this way and all this stuff. But this is what happens. So there's an external event, it occurs. Then there's your interpretation of the event, and then the self-talk. So this happens really quickly, okay? Because then the feelings and the reactions come in. So you might think, oh, this external event happened and that's, the feeling or reaction. But I'm urging you, there's a thought that comes before that happens. And so it's really your thoughts that's then causing the feelings. Okay. So I know sometimes you have to sit with this for a while. I remember when I was first exploring this, it really had to sink in and resonate. And again, I told you I've been talking about this for a long time now, and more always comes up whenever I share this with people, and people have really great questions too when it comes to this. So if there's anything that you're thinking of, any kind of question to help some clarity, or if you're stuck with anything anywhere, please ask. Having a conversation about this can really be helpful. So now the negative self-talk. So it's a series of these perhaps poor habits sometimes are involved with it. Okay. You keep, and especially when there's, when it comes to addiction, or, you want to get out of a pattern, there's a self-talk that's behind that. Uncovering that is the difficult part. And then the healing can occur when you uncover that. But it's been happening typically for quite some time. It's automatic and it's very repetitive. You keep telling yourself this. And it's also a limiting belief. So you're holding yourself back by having this negative self-talk. So I really urge you, if you do have negative self-talk, try to turn it around, because you can feel better just thinking about this negative self-talk and just turning it around. It's really that root cause, that underlying cause. I can't urge how important this is to really try to understand. And motivated oftentimes by fear. There's a lot of fear that can be involved. I'm going to talk about some other things, but fear can be a big one. And it can even initiate or even aggravate a panic attack. So then now these thoughts can lead to some physiological issues that you're feeling in your physical body. So we can't discount this mind-body connection. It's there. And then factors that perpetuate this negative self-talk. So there's automatic triggers. Okay. That, if you're in this situation and there is that automatic trigger there, if there's anything that you can do to get that trigger to not be there. So whether it's, a loved one, someone at work, something at home, maybe it's a physical object. And whenever you look at it, it's reminding you of something. If it's a physical object, that's great, because then you can get rid of it. Right. And then you don't have to think about it or look at it. So, and if there's an emotional attachment to that, you could think about that, talk about that, make a pros and cons list, whatever it is you have to do. So if you can get rid of that trigger and understand what it is, that's great. If it's a person in your life, that's another story. And then how to deal with them is something else to tackle, but worth exploring and thinking about, and at least acknowledging that, right? Avoidance actually isn't a great way to deal with negative self-talk. So, what I'm talking about here is understanding it. And this isn't the easy way out. So what's the way through a negative thought pattern, or what's the way through depression or anxiety, or what's the way out of it rather, is through it. And that's not easy. I'm speaking from experience. But what is, and I'm going to say, sometimes people turn to medication, and sometimes that's necessary. And if you do need to go on it, but to be on that for a period with a doctor who knows then how to wean you off of those medications, maybe while you're going through talk therapy, to understand what's going through, but to be constantly on the medication, because what is it doing? It's aiding that avoidance. It's suppressing the emotions. It's not even allowing you to feel them. I'm passionate about this because, you know, I had my father had bipolar. He's no longer with us, you know, rest in peace. He, you know, I watched him suffer in many ways. It was really difficult watching him with the medications in the treatment of bipolar, and the way they were constantly changing the dosages. And you know, I know that this is why I do what I do, because they never got it right. And he never felt better. And I understand how difficult bipolar is. But I do know that those medications didn't allow him to feel. Okay. The look in his eyes, they took the life out of him. That's not living. Okay. We want to live. We want to thrive. We want to be able to work through our emotions so that you can feel better. So if you do need to be on medication, by all means, be on it, be, you know, on a doctor who can prescribe it. If there's a way that you can just be on it for a limited time, I urge you to look into that. And only the prescribing doctor can try and wean you off of that. That's something. So again, that's individual, you know, based on what you want. What I'm talking about here is exploring the self-talk, because that avoidance isn't going to help you get out of a negative thought pattern. Okay. So really facing it and understanding it with, you know, being really gentle on yourself when you're going through this. Okay. Distorted thoughts. So really understanding if these thoughts aren't actually accurate. And I'm going to go into that. And negative images. Okay. So those triggers, et cetera, that may be going on. So now there's 3 basic distortions. So overestimating a negative outcome, right? You're just automatically, oh, this is going to go bad. This is how it's always been. This is going to go bad. You know, not even waiting for something to happen, or try and look at the glass as half full. So that mindset really plays a part. If you're just making like catastrophizing about it, like, oh, this is just going to be the worst thing ever, it's going to be awful, you know, people do that. That's a distortion, because it hasn't even happened yet. You know, be in the present moment, let life happen. Why are you throwing that negative energy to it already like that? Underestimating your ability to cope. So why are you taking that away? You've been through so much before. Why now can't you deal with the task at hand or what's going on? So fear is that overestimating and underestimating your ability. Okay. And then there's some questions to ask yourself. So if it is a fact that you're overestimating a situation, ask yourself, what are the realistic odds that this would happen? If you're catastrophizing the situation, you can ask yourself, if the feared outcome actually occurred, how terrible would it be? So really thinking about it and going down, you know, that rabbit hole with it. Underestimating your ability. So if the feared outcome occurred, what could I do to cope? That's a better way of approaching the situation, instead of just dismissing yourself as if you aren't able to deal with it, because that's not true. Unless you think it is, right? You know, the power of the mind. So the negative self-talkers. So there's the worrier. A lot of people are like this, right? Promotes anxiety. The critic promotes low self-esteem. The victim promotes depression. And the perfectionist promotes chronic stress and burnout. So ask yourself if this resonates with you. Sometimes you're a mixture of both. Sometimes there's some things or in life that might trigger one way, and then things that trigger another thing. Being aware of what, you know, might be leading you to feeling those things. So I'm going to talk about the anxious self-talk a little bit here. And this could kind of apply to all of those as well, but especially with the worrying leading to the anxiety. It can be really irrational. You know, and so I hear this all the time. People are thinking about, they're just like, oh, this just, you know, it doesn't make sense. I know that, but I can't get out of it. Yet it sounds like the truth. You've been saying it so much. It's been so automatic. It becomes truth, right? And it can get mixed in circles with avoidance. So you're talking about it, you're getting all worked up about it. It's irrational, yet you're making this out to be the ultimate truth. And then you just avoid it. And the negative self-talk perpetuates avoidance by imagining that something is really, really dangerous. Okay. So how to change the negative self-talk? So first and foremost, and sometimes you have to spend some time on this first step. Oftentimes you do have to spend some time on this first step. You have to recognize it and understand it, right? So if there is negative self-talk, if you know what it is, that's great. That's the first step. If you don't know what it is, again, like I was just saying, ask a loved one. Is there a phrase, a negative phrase that I'm often saying about myself? What is it? Please let me know. I'm sure they'll be happy to tell you. They probably hear you all the time saying it. They may have even just gotten so used to it. So they're used to you saying it. And then when they ask you to say it, when you ask them and then they say it, they're like, oh, they were happy to share with you, because your loved ones don't want to see you going through these negative patterns. And then to understand it. So thinking about when it first started, where you were when it started. You might not know, you might not have all these answers, you might, but if you don't know, that's okay. But thinking about it, trying to give some energy to it, or think about, was this childhood? Was this as a teenager, as an adult? What was going on when this happened? Think about the inner child. Okay, so be really super gentle when you're thinking about all this stuff. A lot of times this does it goes right back to childhood. And then really trying to understand that. So that first step in itself can take a lot. And why do I do my midweek meditations? Because meditation really helps you to understand this self-talk, to understand yourself. Okay. But it doesn't always have to be negative. Again, but we're talking about reversing now if we're trying to change the negative self-talk. Sometimes, and you can, if it gets heavy sometimes, if you're going through a negative self-talk, say, oh, what are the good things that I say to myself? And you can think about that too. So you could think about the positive while also exploring the negative, right? There's nothing that says if you're feeling negative, you have to just be negative and think about that. Absolutely not. Maybe give it a little bit of attention and then just think about all the good stuff. Okay. And then get on with your day. And then maybe the next day or next week, revisit this topic. And then when you understand that, think about, then say, so once you've understood it, you know what the negative self-talk is. When it comes up for you, now you're going to be aware of it. You could say stop or cancel. Okay. That can be a way of stopping it in its tracks, right? And then replace it with a positive message or a positive affirmation. Okay. Whatever that might mean to you. So for me, it was, I'm not good enough. I am good enough. So that it's easy enough to reverse when you know what it is that you're dealing with. And sometimes you can even just say that all the time. You can wake up and just say that. That could be your daily affirmation. That's what I did for myself, at least. And I can't stress enough, be extra nurturing and kind to yourself. Okay. Because we're just humans having a human experience, trying to understand ourselves and trying to better ourselves for our own wellness. That only also benefits the whole world, right? And train the brain not to go to that negative place. But first and foremost, you have to understand it. Where did it come from? How did I get here? Was I told this? Did somebody say it? Did, you may just assume someone's thinking something. Maybe as a child, someone looked at you a weird way and you just assumed, oh my God, that they feel this way about me. And then you've just started telling yourself that. When really, maybe that person was having a bad day, but now you're going to give yourself negative self-talk for the rest of your life because you thought that stuff. That's not fair to you. So really thinking about that. So that's where the objective thought comes in. And I know that dealing with objective thought for myself is very difficult. That's not, I have always been a person of, I feel my way through things. If it doesn't feel right, I'm not doing it. So if that's tough for you to do, I'm right there with you. I get it. But try to look at things objectively. And if that's where you need help, that's totally okay. So then that's where you ask for help. So if you are going through talk therapy, you could say that, listen, I need help with looking at things a little bit more objectively sometimes. How do I do that? Okay, so there's really ways that you can help yourself to understand all these things. Everyone's got different different parts of it that are difficult. So figure out where you're stuck and try and get past that. Okay. And then ask yourself, so these are some questions to counter that negative self-talk. So these are some things to ask you. And this is where, being objective with this is. So this can help. I know that this helped me. So I wonder if this can help you guys also. This is why I'm sharing this here. What is the evidence for this? So figure out the negative self-talk. What are those thoughts? What are those automatic thoughts? And where's the evidence for this? Try and find it. Okay. Is this always true? Has this been true in the past? What is the worst that could happen? What is so bad about this? Really think about what is so bad about this? Why am I thinking this? Are you looking at the whole picture? Are you being fully objective? Okay. And then slow down. So pay attention to what is going on within you. Because the self-talk, it's subtle and it's automatic. And you may not notice it. It's so commonplace for you. That's what the self-talk is. It's these thoughts that are just automatic. And you may just react, okay? But slowing down helps you to think, okay? Because you don't want to just be reacting, okay? But if you don't slow down, then you will just have these reactions. So, and when you slow down, think about how are you being affected? Okay, so when you have this self-talk, how is it affecting? How is it manifesting? The next slide's gonna help a little bit more with that. And it really keeps the reactions limited and possibly even eliminated. Okay, not to say that you shouldn't react to certain things, but there's ways of reacting that help you. It's a good release. And then there's other ways of reacting that maybe thinking through things helps you to process it without having an explosive reaction, right? Comparison. And I love this one. I love this when I heard this, is the thief of joy. So not comparing yourself to someone else who's going through the self-talk, right? This is your own process. Own it. It's yours. You deserve to figure this out. Okay. Don't compare yourself to anyone because it's just going to take away what you're trying to achieve. Okay. Be the best version of you day after day, growing into your own best self. It's huge. So now these are all the things that I want to share to make room for gratitude, meditation, daily affirmations. So I've been working on this with patients ever since I was in clinic in med school. And with the daily affirmations, it was really interesting because some doctors that were even, supervising me just didn't understand it. Well, it has been one of the most powerful tools that I use with my patients, and I absolutely love it. I'm glad that no one discouraged me from doing it, and I'm glad that I'm still doing it to this day. And now I write it down for my patients on these little note cards. I've been mailing it to them right now while we've been doing the telehealth, but when they're there in my office, I give it to them. So I'm excited to see everyone next week, or as people slowly come in. But daily affirmations, they're powerful. I'm going to go into them. Breathing techniques, how you walking with energy and purpose, or movement. Okay, so if you're unable to walk, so however it is that you're walking, have it be with energy and purpose, thinking about that, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So gratitude is huge. So being grateful for every little thing, telling yourself how grateful you are and patting yourself on the back. So a really easy way of doing this is saying 3 things that you're grateful for. And you can either start the day like this or end the day reflecting on the day and what you're grateful for. Or like my friend Maria shared with me, a gratitude ramble. Or sometimes that's how I've explained it as like the gratitude train. People like all different names for it. You say, I am thankful, grateful, and appreciative of, and you start small and you just keep going and going and going. Okay. And you could do this for a minute. You can do this for a car drive. I suggest you do it for a few minutes, at least 20 minutes or so, and it will automatically change your vibration and you will be grateful, because there is guaranteed so much to actually be grateful for, even during changes of time like we're going through now. Looking for those little things of gratitude, right? Even in exchange, or just watching people treat each other better. God, it just can make your heart feel so full, knowing that, yeah, there's been a lot of pain, but there's a purpose for it, and moving forward, being grateful for all those little things. So you really, because if you're not grateful for your life now, why should you be filled with anything else if you're not even grateful for it now? What are you there? What are you going to build upon? Right? So gratitude is really important. So meditation, this is why I do my weekly meditations. I love meditating. The more you meditate, the more you love it. My friend, Dr. Javier is on here. And I remember in med school, remember this, where he almost like got addicted to meditating. I almost say like, you know, you can't meditate enough, but I remember that when he was getting into it, and he would like want to run back after class just to meditate. And he's such a great spiritual soul. So I love him. So meditation is really wonderful, you know, whatever it means for you. I always see it as getting messages, getting guidance. It helps you with the next steps. You can even meditate to think about what your self-talk is about, and see if you don't know, it's not apparent to you, meditate on it and see what comes through. It's really powerful stuff. And so you can be in silence doing it. You can use guided meditation. So sometimes silence isn't comfortable. That's not a easy place for some people to be. I get that. So then there's guided meditations. You can set the time on that. You can set the topic at hand. You can even do a meditation for like a mood that you want to be in, a meditation for focus, right? A meditation for happiness, whatever. There's so many options out there. And so I listed some apps here. You can also set your own intention and just breathing. It's wonderful. Oh yeah. Oh, great. Dr. Palacios is saying, yes, his meditation, and he still does it. And he goes, think of it as a shower for the mind. Oh, so really just like washing off all the extra stuff that's flooding yourself and holding you back, or maybe feeling you like stuck in mud, and you clear it off and you feel cleansed. And I love that. So thinking of meditation as a shower for the mind. That's wonderful. Thank you. I love that. So daily affirmations. I love this. Anyone who's my patients out there watching, this is really powerful. And what it is, it's a positive reminder for your life now. So this can change, right? So have this affirmation to empower you. This is why I do it. Empowers you to keep going through your day with joy and hope. And hope is so huge. So if you have a doctor out there who's taken away your hope, find a new doctor, okay? If you're going through a tough time and people are taking away your hope, don't let them do it. Hope is so important for healing. It's the foundation for it, okay? And hope and moving through life, moving through change, it's so crucial. So have that hope, keep that hope. And that's what these daily affirmations do, okay? And I like to write them down. And I like you to say it ideally in front of a mirror every day, but it has to be something that you believe, okay? So don't discredit this, you know, so think of it. I was introduced to this with Louise Hay, her book that my friend Dr. Kathleen Cannon gave to me. And it was a great resource. And now sometimes I make up my own affirmations for people. I remember the first affirmation I ever gave to a patient was, my heart beats to the rhythm of love. And God bless her. She used to come in and sing that affirmation to me. Her family was everything and she loved them. And that was her affirmation. I'll never forget this all these years later. And this was the one I had to use for myself. I am good enough. You know, and there's tons of them. I can flow with life. I can breathe with ease and comfort. Sometimes just doing these deep breaths are really difficult for people. And when the body's out of balance, you can say, my body knows just what I need to be in balance. So give yourself credit for finding the health and healing that you need. Okay. And breathing techniques. So if anyone's interested, I'm always talking about this on my midweek meditations. Belly breathing, so breathing into your belly, not your chest. So breathing into the belly is very grounding. It helps you use all of your lung capacity, gets that lung chi moving everywhere. Really important, and helps to calm you. Another is 4 square breathing. That can be a powerful one. Another one that I love to do to get your parasympathetic nervous system moving and grooving, and that parasympathetic nervous system is our rest and digest. It's where we're at to thrive as human beings, for that clarity of thought, and it benefits our health and wellness. It lowers our blood pressure, lowers our heart rate, keeps us calm, keeps our minds with focus, and we can really dig deep and get into that meditative state, is when you have an exhalation be slightly longer than an inhalation. So when you exhale, just exhale for a few more breaths. It really does help. And then there's something called progressive muscle relaxation. So when you're really stressed out and tense, and sometimes there's certain spots people feel this in their body, if you purposefully will tense that muscle, put tension into the muscle with the inhale, and then relax with the exhale. So sometimes it's, you know, you can have a practitioner guide you through this, and that can be really helpful if you're trying to release some tensions. And then the way you carry yourself with energy, with purpose, the body achieves what the mind believes, right? So going back to that mindset, what are you telling yourself? What are these automatic thoughts? And your tribe. So this is really important. So surrounding yourself with people who have like-minded views. And again, this goes back to thoughts being palpable. So when you change your thoughts, so if you have been having negative self-talk and you change your thoughts, you might see that suddenly the people you're hanging out with are changing. You're vibing with different people, and that's a good thing. So sometimes when people have to leave your life or they get out of your life, that's not so bad. Sometimes, you know, you might be sad about that, or you miss them, you know, But if it's because you guys weren't on the same wavelength, then it's better off that you moved on and you went different ways. Okay. Because those thoughts are palpable. You know, when you're with other people, you know what they're thinking. And actually we did this in naturopathic medical school. So if any, Dr. Javier, if you're out there and remember this, it was in counseling, and we sat next to someone that we didn't know, and we had to just sit there for, I think it was like a minute, right? And write down whatever came to our mind, what the person was thinking. And believe it or not, I would say it was like 80%, like most people were right, you know, ocean. I remember I would write ocean, cat, and blah, blah. And this person was thinking about their favorite place on vacation with their family, and the family cat was there. And I was just like blown away. And there were so many, we went around the room and people were literally reading other people's minds. So do it. It's really kind of cool. So that even proves thoughts are palpable. And you can create your own network. So when you're really vibing with who you truly want to be, with what's true to your soul, it's amazing. Know your support group, reach out to them. And again, there's strength in asking for help. So when you need it, reach out, and your loved ones are there. They want to help you. So some ways that you can support yourself with phrases and messages. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, what if, you know, which is holding you back, just say like, so what, you know, let's just do this. I can handle this. That's very empowering to say. Or tell yourself, you know, if you're in that worrying thought pattern or victim, whatever it is you're telling yourself, this is just scare talk. You know, really just talk yourself out of all the negative thought patterns. And it does take practice. It does take persistence. So if this doesn't come easily right away, totally okay. Keep trying, go at it again. Tomorrow's another day. So this optimal self-talk, right? This positive self-talk that we want. So be positive, be present in the present moment, and be in the first person. So always saying like I. So with those daily affirmations, it started with, you know, I, for the most part, most of them do. But you have to believe it too. So you can't just, you know, start blowing out, you know, rainbows and unicorns if, you know, you're not feeling it. You have to try and believe what it is, you know, that you're saying. Guidelines to identify and counter then the negative self-talk. So I'm going to go through what all of this means. So noticing. So notice and ask yourself, how are you feeling? You can even ask yourself, like, look at, how is your posture? Are you in survival mode and like leaning over? You know, straighten up your back, let your organs sit where they can. You're going to feel better. Your body's going to be able to physically process what it needs to function. Is there a part of your body that feels tense, right? So thinking about that progressive muscle relaxation technique, if that is what's going on, are your fingers or your jaws, are they clenching up, you know, and maybe inhale and clench them and then exhale and relax it. Are your shoulders tight? Is your back tight or stiff or in pain? You know, think about all this stuff. How is your breathing? Are you breathing? Are you doing the deep breathing? Are you doing belly breathing? And ask yourself some questions so you can stop, right? Just say stop. You can say it in your head or say it out loud. And why am I telling myself something that's making me feel this way? You know, you can just ask yourself, reflect on it. Do I really want to do this to myself? And if it is yes, find a safe place to release it, okay? Do I really want to stay upset? And if you're in that spot and you just want to stay upset, that's okay, right? This isn't about forcing yourself to feel any certain way, but then find a safe space to release it and move through it, get past it, right? So these emotions, they're there to help us, but you don't want to get stuck in them. We got to move them. And then what was Javier saying as meditation's a shower for the mind. It really cleanses it through. It really, truly does. Relaxing. So you can take from even just 1 minute to 20 minutes, but it could take some time. So if you can relax, then distract yourself or repeat stop. Keep saying cancel or stop. And if your mind's not helping you, right, then you jump into your body. That's what I always say, because they're connected. They're all the same. So do something physical to then get out of your head with those negative thoughts and then get into your body. So sometimes I'll tell people, so if there's anxiety, as long as your heart health is fine, do a bunch of jumping jacks, like 100 jumping jacks. And suddenly, the anxiety's gone. You've gone into your body, you've had now a release physically, and now the body and the mind rather can calm down. It's pretty cool. And if you calm down and you're still there, then you could say stop again, repeat, what you need to do. But eventually you do want to relax. So you want to get to that relaxation place. So those are things to help. And I'll always talk about proper exercise, and sometimes I'll refer to different blood types and different exercises for them, because different people, based on blood type, can release cortisol, their stress hormone, differently. So I find that very effective oftentimes. And writing down. So this is where we're going to go a little backwards, right? So we know self-talk is thoughts, then it's the feelings. But sometimes you got to backtrack it. So write down first the feelings if we're trying to, uncover these things, and then uncover the thoughts. So sometimes it's easier to deal with the feelings and then to really get to the thoughts. So that's another way to help you get there, to identify this negative self-talk. So then maybe identify, are you the worrier, the critic, the victim, or the perfectionist? This can be tough to kind of admit to yourself. That's okay. And then with the counter statements, so remember, these counter statements can be these daily affirmations. So keep it positive, keep it in the present right now, and try and keep it in the first person and believe it. So practice, practice, practice. And change does take time. Be patient with yourself. Take small steps, and progress is not perfection. And I was on a talk earlier today, and she shared this, and I was like, oh my goodness, what if she's going to be on my lecture today? And I had it here because it's such a great reminder that it's all about moving forward. It's not about perfection. Like of all the lectures that I go to, and I know everyone, can be on board with this. You never want someone to come up stage or come on the webinar and just be like, so this is how perfect my life is. You want to hear about it? No, everyone loves to hear a comeback story. Come on, give me a break. No one wants to hear about how perfect you are. Boring. It's not reality. No one has a perfect life like that. So share, be honest, be vulnerable. And if, you don't have to be on a platform with other people, but be honest and vulnerable with yourself. This is not about being perfect. What a boring world if we were all perfect, right? No, it's about making progress, okay? And being the best self that you can be, okay? Not comparing yourselves to others. So bringing this all together, how is this tie into health? Why, as a naturopathic doctor, did I just talk for an hour about all this stuff? Because the mind, body, and connection is so huge. So as a doctor, any doctor out there can only guide you towards wellness. They can only give you some information based on what they've learned in med school or what they believe to be true to help you. But you are in charge of your ultimate wellness. And if you are the one holding yourself back, then you have to try and change that and look into that. So that's why I talk about the self-talk, because it is not often talked about. And it's so crucial. It could be the underlying cause of everything going on. It could lead to stress. It could lead to high blood pressure. It could lead to autoimmune conditions. All of this is so important, and mindset is truly the foundation. And I can't do all of my naturopathic modalities without a good foundation. Okay, so that's part of it, but it helps if you have a good mindset, and then you can build upon it. So then what do I always do with my patients? I talk about them with nutrition. I talk about other healthy habits, and the self-talk falls under you know, healthy habits and positive lifestyle changes. And then proper supplementation. That's what I do. It's all natural as a naturopathic doctor. And then I always work with those daily affirmations. So if that mindset is there for the foundation for healing, then you can build upon it with everything else. If that's where we need to work, then I encourage you to do that homework for yourself on your own. If you need help with that, that's great to ask for help with just that, with the self-talk and getting your mind set to a place of wanting the healing. It's really important. So I thank you all for following me. I'm going to look at any questions now, but feel free, if you don't already, to follow me on Instagram. I'm at Dr. Dawn ND, so Dr. Dawn ND. Anyone out there on Facebook, feel free to also follow my professional page at Dr. Dawn ND as well. You can email me anytime, and it's Dr. Dawn at innersourcehealth.com. That's where I work at, is Inner Source Health in Huntington and Manhattan. And you can visit our website, you know, read about my bio, as well as the other doctors that I practice with, and see any articles that we're sharing, anything that we're talking about, and any future webinars or lectures. And this will all be posted on our YouTube page. So I urge you, if anyone wants to subscribe for free, you can check that all out too. So, so I'm just going to pull, if anyone has any questions, just let me know. I know that this was a lot of information, and I hope that that this sheds some light. If it's anything, you know, sometimes, you know, when you hear this information, you're going to reflect on it and think about it. So if anything comes up, you are more than welcome to always reach out to me with any questions that come up for you here. Yeah. So, oh yeah. So let's see. So Javier wrote, let's see, I'm going to click on this here. I can't click on it. Let's see. Energy. Okay, so he was very, very interesting to do. Let's see, I think we're talking about meditate. Oh, the meditating. It showed how our energies can be read by other humans as we are doing it all the time, but most of us aren't even aware. I think this is why having pets help us communicate on a subtler way without the use of words. Right. So I was talking earlier about how pets just kind of naturally vibe with each other or other human beings. So in terms of thoughts being palpable, it's fun to watch them, to see that humans do the same thing. So, all right. So let's see. Oh, Jack, come up here. Oh, you're welcome. So, thanks for all the thanks. I thank you all for being here with me today. And I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the day. And if anyone is interested in how this all ties in and with healing and naturopathic medicine, you are all welcome for a free 10-minute consultation. You can email me. I would be happy to schedule that for you in the coming week, just to chat about how I might be able to help you, or how this applies to your own state of health and wellness. So always happy to chat about naturopathic medicine and how it can help. So thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody. Bye now.